What is it? I look angelic.
Because the light is like, welcome to spirit.
The spirit of health.
Where you can find all of your needs.
All your spiritual needs will be met here. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, so we're going to talk about digestion. We're going to talk cleansing, weight loss, blood sugar balance. We have a lot in this section. So we'll start with some basic digestion. Common for people to come in with gas, bloating, acid reflux, heartburn. So this is the section you're going to want to come to. Enzymes are pretty common. If you go to a lot of health food stores, you'll find lots and lots of enzymes. You usually find lots of different brands, lots of different options. Different enzymes break down different foods. So if somebody's having problems digesting fats, lipase digests fats. Amylase digests carbohydrates. Protease digests protein. You can go on down the list. Okay. So, did you say
Slow down.
slow down? Okay. Okay.
We went, just, that's important to know. So just
Yes.
repeat those again.
Right. So lipase digests fats. Amylase digests carbohydrates. Protease digests proteins. Lactase digests lactose. Glutenase enzymes digest gluten. Okay. So it's cool to know all that, but we have them all in one formula, so it's not that critical that you memorize all that. But if you go into a lot of health food stores, people might sell lipase enzymes, all the different individual ones. We really only have one major enzyme product, and it covers all of them. So regardless of what they're having trouble digesting, I like the Digest by Arthur Andrew Medical. It pretty much covers it. It's got amylase, glucoamylase, it's got the lactase, protease, cellulase, lipase, papain, other enzymes. So it's kind of your full spectrum digestive enzyme. So if somebody's just looking for a basic digestive enzyme because they know it makes them feel better, know it helps them helps them digest their food better, that's the one we go to. And I was going to say something else specific to that. Oh, so gas, bloating, even acid reflux. There's usually different things I get for acid reflux. But anytime anybody's coming in with gas, bloating, really having trouble with starches, carbohydrates, this is a really good enzyme for that. Or lactose intolerant. If they're really having problems with dairy, that one as well. Now, of course, we might want to recommend they look at their diet always and maybe stay away from the foods that are causing problems. A lot of people want to take an enzyme so that they can eat the foods that they like, and that's okay. It helps them feel better. But if there's an issue going on with their digestion, sometimes it is helpful to avoid that food. Moving on to this one I really like a lot. This is an orthodigestzyme, and this is a blend of, it's a different type of formula. So again, Digest is kind of your full spectrum enzyme supplement. This one, this orthodigestzyme, I always recommend to people who have trouble digesting fats and proteins. Anybody who has liver or gallbladder issues, anybody who has lost their gallbladder, had their gallbladder surgically removed. I always, always, always recommend this enzyme. And the reason is because it has hydrochloric acid, which is your first line of defense, your stomach acid. It has ox bile in it. So bile is what your body produces to digest fats and carbohydrates. So you need to produce bile for that, and if you've lost your gallbladder, you don't have a place to store extra bile. So it's good to take bile to help you digest their foods. A lot of people who have lost their gallbladder, they'll say that they eat fats and it goes right through them. So they're not actually digesting them, so the enzymes can help them do that. It also has your pancreatic enzymes that are produced in your pancreas for digestion. And it's got bromelain and papain as well. So this is a really, really good one for liver, gallbladder, fat, protein type of digestion. Now, we have straight ox bile. Yes, honey?
Are you going to talk about how to recommend taking?
Oh, how to recommend taking them? Yeah, in general, with all of the enzymes I've talked about so far, the Digest or the orthodigestzyme, just one with each meal. That's usually plenty. This is really strong, this Digest. One with each meal seems to work every time. The Ortho-Digestive, if they got major digestive issues or if they're eating heavy meals and they have compromised digestion, they might need more than one at a meal. I always tell people if you're going to Thanksgiving dinner, you might take 2 or 3. You just know you're going to overeat. It'll help. Ox bile, straight ox bile, people will take for fat digestion. So to help them digest fats, again, if they're having gallbladder issues or they don't have a gallbladder, or people know about taking bile just to help them digest and absorb fat. They might actually take it for weight loss, just so that they can digest and process fat better in their body. Then we'll move on to hydrochloric acid and bitters. So one of the oldest tricks in the book for helping with digestion is bitters. So if you go to another culture, before you start your meal, a lot of times you'll eat something bitter and it'll stimulate digestion. When I lived in France, we drank a little bit of sherry before each meal. It's not like a funny joke just because French people like alcohol, but it's because it stimulates the digestive process. Did somebody just try to come in?
Yeah.
Interesting. So bitters stimulate digestion. When you put something bitter on your tongue, especially on the back of your tongue, that's the bitter part of your tongue, is the back part of your tongue, it stimulates a nerve in your body called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs all the way up and down through your body. It's almost like your second part of your nervous system next to your spine. The vagus nerve connects all your organs throughout your entire body. And so when you take bitters stimulating the vagus nerve, it actually stimulates secretion of enzymes from the pancreas, hydrochloric acid, and basically all the digestive juices you need so that when you start eating, your digestion's been prepared. I've seen people with major digestive issues just do the bitters and take care of all their digestive issues. So bitters are awesome, and bitters are really affordable too. Your typical bitters, the most common one is gentian, G-E-N-T-I-A-N. Aloe vera, which is in the bottom here, aloe vera juice. Aloe vera in Latin actually means very bitter. If you cut open an aloe leaf and try to eat it, it'll knock your socks off. It's like the most bitter thing I'm having bad memory relapses here from trying straight aloe. It's really intense. But it's very bitter, so it really stimulates digestion. This bitters has bitters and ginger. So I know ginger's good for digestion, good for nausea. This has astragalus, cardamom, centaury, fennel, the gentian that I mentioned, and ginger root. So those are all bitter herbs. My favorite formula that I use a lot is this we're out of it. It's the Doctor's Best hydrochloric acid with bitters. So we haven't talked about hydrochloric acid yet. Hydrochloric acid is critical for digestion. Acid reflux medications, somebody comes in, they're on acid reflux medications, any antacid, Prevacid, Prilosec, if they're taking Tums or any kind of antacid. What that does is that stops your body from being able to digest food. It dilutes your stomach acid, and that's why the side effects listed on those drugs are bone loss, mineral loss, osteoporosis, because now you're not digesting any food. You've stopped the symptom, but you've actually stopped your entire process of digestion. So for the most part, doctors still erroneously tell people that if they're having acid reflux, that they have too much acid in their stomach. It's opposite. They do not have enough stomach acid to digest their food properly. It's a deficiency in hydrochloric acid. So anybody who comes in on acid reflux, antacids of any kind, A, tell them they're very dangerous. PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, are very dangerous drugs. And 2, they're actually deficient in stomach acid. And if they start taking hydrochloric acid, the reason I like this formula by Doctor's Best, it has hydrochloric acid with the bitters in it. It's a perfect combination. Apple cider vinegar will serve the same purpose. A lot of people know to take apple cider vinegar with meals to help with digestion. So those are a couple things that you can do, and people can get off of those acid reflux drugs. They don't need them. They're very expensive. I've had clients come in who are spending $200 a month on Nexium. And they take some digestive enzymes, some hydrochloric acid, and they're off of it. And they don't mind spending $15 on hydrochloric acid, they were spending $200 on Nexium, and it's bad for them. And some of these people are young, and it doesn't matter how long they've been on it, they can get off it. I've had multiple people who have been on Nexium and Prilosec for 20 years. And it might be tougher for them, it might take them a little bit longer, but usually within a month or two, they can be totally off that and be fine. Now, diet, nutrition, food combining, there's other things you can do to help with that, but the hydrochloric acid is critical. One other thing I want to address about hydrochloric acid, I know you guys had a couple questions. Hydrochloric acid is your first line of defense for your body. The acid is 2.5 on the pH scale. This is why I'm not a huge fan of drinking alkaline water, because it doesn't make sense to dilute your stomach acid. So if you're going to drink alkaline water, this is a total side note, drink it on an empty stomach. Don't do it with food, because if you drink water, alkaline water with food, you're totally diluting your stomach acid. You can't digest your food. Hydrochloric acid is your first line of defense. It's supposed to kill any bacteria, virus, parasite that enters your mouth that's on your food. It should kill it before it can get into your system. For example, people have H. pylori. Have you heard of H. pylori? Okay, or any kind of bacterial infection. It doesn't matter if it's C. diff, even if it's candida, any kind of bacterial overgrowth in the gut. But specifically, H. pylori is a big one, because what H. pylori does is it only is able to colonize and take over a gut that's deficient in stomach acid. Because if you had enough stomach acid, it would kill that microorganism. Because you don't have enough stomach acid, the microorganism can get in there, it can start to grow and proliferate. What the H. pylori does when it gets in your system, it actually produces ammonia. The reason it produces ammonia is because ammonia is alkaline, and their goal is to wipe out your stomach acid so that they have a home to live in. So one of the first things you want to do with anybody with acid reflux, but also with any chronic infectious issues, H. pylori, C. diff, candida, etc., hydrochloric acid is critical, because that acid being in their stomach is what protects their intestinal tract from not having infections in it. What did you guys have questions? Natanya had a question.
If someone comes on and they say, I've been on this anti-acid medication for X amount of time, I want to get off of it and I want to start this, do you have a suggestion of, okay, how do you recommend them to transition?
Good question. So how do you recommend people transition off of acid reflux medication? Depends on how long they've been on it. If they're like, oh, I just last week the doctor told me to start taking this. Okay, they don't need it. You just don't need it. Take this. But if they've been on it for months or years, or they're nervous to come off of the medication, that's for good reason, because that can be miserable and people can't sleep and it can be painful, the burning of the esophagus. So what I generally recommend is some nutrition changes. Once they start on the hydrochloric acid and some enzymes, and maybe some apple cider vinegar. Once they're doing that and they feel like it's working and the digestion's working, they can tell things are getting better, try cutting it in half and go a few more days. And if they feel like they're fine, cut it back maybe in half again and just slowly kind of work off it. Because you have to be careful quitting those cold turkey, because one mistake, one bad meal, and their digestion's not stronger, that can be disaster. So you do have to be cautious with that. Jen, did you have a question?
How are you recommending them use the hydrochloric acid and bitters combination? Is that just right before a meal every time?
Yeah, so hydrochloric acid and bitters right before a meal, right with a meal. I always tell people, just take it. If it's the end of the meal and you're like, oh, I didn't take my enzyme, take it. Still works. It's actually best before a meal, but that's not overly critical. You can take it during the meal or at the end of the meal.
I think the confusion about the medical industry and how they can convince people to tell them that their issue is an excessive amount of hydrochloric acid is because of the burning in the throat.
Right.
What the burning is actually undigested food, because you don't have enough hydrochloric acid making its way back up the esophagus, and your esophagus is very fragile and it doesn't like undigested food in that area, and the little bit of acid that is mixed in with the food that comes up burns the esophagus.
Yep.
So that's why people are just like, oh, well, I must have excess because I feel this burning. it's just undigested food making its way back up. But it wouldn't be happening if your stomach was roaring with hydrochloric acid. So does that make sense?
Yep. Thanks, honey. So you'll have people that have kind of burned out their esophagus. You'll have people trouble swallowing. We had a lady in here today who I'd been working with who was having trouble swallowing. Painful, hard to swallow, couldn't swallow pills, always painful to swallow. And she was doing the hydrochloric acid with bitters. She was doing this intestinu formula, which kind of heals and coats the intestinal tract, and she was doing the Alolife greens. Okay, greens, a last note on hydrochloric acid, greens increase hydrochloric acid production. Apple cider vinegar increases hydrochloric acid production. Obviously, taking hydrochloric acid will give your stomach the acid it needs until it starts producing it on its own. Cayenne pepper increases stomach acid production. So those are all things that you can use to increase stomach acid naturally. So going on to this intestinu formula. Oh, by the way, just to finish this shelf, we have another just straight hydrochloric acid right here. We have a heartburn stop formula specifically for heartburn. This has aloe vera in it, apple pectin. It's got some enzymes in it, but this is for heartburn. And then charcoal. What does charcoal do? It absorbs. So anybody who has, think they got food poisoning or got something in their stomach that shouldn't be there, the charcoal will absorb it very quickly. Clay serves the same purpose. Charcoal does it faster. Charcoal is more absorbent than clay. Clay has other benefits because you get minerals and the way it attracts toxins to it. The charcoal literally just absorbs. So your dog, you know, eats a bottle of aspirin or drinks antifreeze in the garage, get the charcoal in him real fast, save his life. Same with a person, same with a kid. So anybody who is in an emergency situation, the charcoal is really good for that. Yeah, real quick on food combining, especially if they have really major digestive issues, acid reflux issues, that can be huge. And you can read whole books on food combining. I'll give you 3 basic principles to make it super duper simple. 1, eat fruit on an empty stomach, because fruit will pass through your system really quick. And if you eat fruit with other foods, especially proteins and starches, it'll just sit in your gut and it'll start to ferment and it'll create gas. And people with digestive issues will realize that. So fruit on an empty stomach. Second rule, this is the most important one, don't combine protein and starch. So like meat and potatoes, hamburger on a bun, all the foods we eat combining meat and starch. Meat needs hydrochloric acid, starch needs different types of digestive juices, the bile, more alkaline, and they'll kind of offset each other if you're eating those things together. Person with strong digestion, iron stomachs, they've been eating that way for years, not a big deal to them. People with acid reflux, huge deal. Night and day difference if they stop combining proteins and starches. So if any food combining principles are confusing, the third rule I usually tell people makes it super simple. Eat vegetables with one other thing for every meal to simplify it. So you want to eat hamburger or chicken? Great. Eat vegetables with your chicken. Eat vegetables with your fish. You want to eat starches like quinoa or rice or potatoes? Eat vegetables with quinoa. Eat vegetables with potatoes. Eat vegetables with rice. But don't combine the meat and the starch and the vegetables all together. So those are the 3 basic rules. Fruit on an empty stomach, don't combine protein and starch, and vegetables with one other item. Is that simple enough? This intestinu formula I really like. This is L-glutamine. A lot of people might ask for L-glutamine because they know it coats and heals the intestinal lining. So people with ulcers, people with any kind of any kind of a gut damage. This is a gut intestinal lining repairing type of formula. It's got mucilaginous herbs in it that kind of soothe and coat and heal the intestinal lining, like marshmallow root. This has ginger in it as well, and it's got some glucosamine in it. So this is a really good formula.
Do you carry that in capsules?
We don't have it in capsules. No, we've never had it in capsules. This is a ginseng and longan. This is a Chinese herbal formula that strengthens digestion. I give this to women a lot. It's a blood builder. It's in the women's section too. So women who have digestive issues, or if they have issues with their cycle, this will help normalize their cycle, but more than anything, it helps build blood. So women who have abnormal cycles, heavy bleeding, heavy menstruation, they get weak, tired, dizzy around their cycles, this is a really good blood builder. You might need to give them iron immediately to kind of get it in their system, but this long-term will help build and strengthen their blood and the digestion. So I use this a lot. Ginseng and longan is the name of it. So let's move on to kind of colon cleansing. Constipation, big issue, very common. We have really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 formulas for constipation. Which one do you recommend? We'll talk a little bit about them. They all work. So let's start with the most stubborn. Okay, somebody comes in, they're like, I just don't go. I've tried the herbal stuff, nothing works. I go once every 5 days. My doctor told me it's normal, but doesn't seem right. Okay, that's kind of a joke, but they do say that. So strongest of the strong is oxy powder. This is ozonated magnesium. So we have 2 products that have magnesium. So if you take Calm, for example, the powdered magnesium, if you take too much, more than your body can absorb, it'll stimulate a bowel movement. It doesn't hurt anything, it just kind of helps bowel movements. In fact, people will take magnesium just to kind of keep them regular, and that's okay. This oxy powder is magnesium that's ozonated. So it has ozone in it, which is oxygen, O3. So when this enters the system, it releases that oxygen molecule. Oxygen goes after waste, contaminants, sludge, dirt, stuff it doesn't like, and it purges it out of the system. So this absolutely 100% will work for every constipated person. If they do too much, it will cause kind of a blowout. So we usually have them start with like 3 and then increase it each day until it helps them have normal, consistent bowel movements. Because if people have major constipation, I have a gal who buys this and she takes 8 of these every day. And that's the only way she goes. And if she takes less, it doesn't work, but 8 a day works for her, and she's been doing that for a long time. And that's what works for her. So speaking of constipation, well, let me mention this other formula. This is another magnesium product with hydrogen peroxide, another form of oxygen. So it basically does the same thing that the ozonated magnesium does, the oxy powder. This is Oxy Cleanse. This has been around for decades. It's hydrogen peroxide with magnesium. It's a little more gentle. It's not quite as... This is the strongest of the strong. This would be a little more mild approach. From my understanding, there's 3 main reasons people are constipated. If you want to get into talking about why people are constipated and get into nutrition. 1, dehydration. There has to be enough water in the colon to move everything through. Water is the transport system that makes everything move. So a lot of people drink a lot of things that are dehydrating and they need more water. The second reason is a lack of probiotics or healthy intestinal flora. So we're talking digestion. Probiotics are in the cooler, but probiotics have to be a part of the discussion of digestion because lack of healthy intestinal flora will cause constipation because those flora in your gut are like your compost bin that breaks down and digests your food and puts it in a form of waste that your body can remove. And without those flora, those bacteria to break down that food, you're not going to be able to eliminate waste. The third main reason, probably the most common one, is a lack of bile flow. So gallstones, bile backup, liver congestion, basically the bile's not flowing through into the intestinal tract. You have to have bile in your intestinal tract to form a bowel movement. It's critical. You got to have water, you got to have some type of fiber, and you got to have bile. Those are the things that make the bowels move. So if the gallbladder's squeezed off, it's congested, there's gallstones, things are backed up, you're not getting bile into your intestinal tract, you can't have bowel movements. So those are the 3 main reasons. So a lot of these formulas are temporary solutions. They're not long-term solutions. A long-term solution might be a liver gallbladder flush and cleaning out your colon, or getting on probiotics and fermented foods and healing your gut, you know, following a good program like Body Ecology Diet. Those are long-term solutions, but a lot of people, they just need help right away, and they need to go every day because they feel better when they do. So those are two formulas that are the magnesium with the oxygen. We'll move to a couple formulas that are herbs that stimulate bowel movements. They're like, I don't like to use the word laxative, but this would be like kind of like a laxative, but a safer version of it, because it's herbal and it's not going to be as harsh. Products like, if you've heard of Miralax, it contains an ingredient in it that helps you go to the bathroom because it's an ingredient that's found in antifreeze. So it basically just blows through your colon. So it's going to help you go, but probably not the healthiest for your body long term. So herbs are better. This has Cape aloe, Turkey rhubarb, senna. A lot of people have heard of senna for helping them go. Barberry, which is a bitter, ginger and fennel, capsicum, which is cayenne pepper. So the way you take this on the move cleanse, what's that? On the move cleanse or cleanse more. These both kind of do the same thing. They have similar ingredients. This is Cape aloe, rhubarb, slippery elm and marshmallow, and trifala. Trifala is another herb commonly used for digestion. The way these formulas work is you take one with the evening meal. The next day, you should have more normal, healthy bowel movements. If you don't, that dinner, the next night, you take two. Ideally, the day after that, you'd have more normal. It's not going to cause diarrhea. It's not going to cause a blowout. You're supposed to just have more normal, healthy stools. So you basically increase it by one each night until it works. And then that's the kind of the level that you might stay at for a while. The other thing we have for going is castor oil. This is what parents and grandparents tortured kids with for decades back in the day, castor oil. That was like a punishment, I think, a lot of times. It's kind of like the magnesium stuff. If somebody really, really needs to go, they take castor oil. Castor oil is also parasite cleanse. You take castor oil and it will cleanse parasites out of your system. A lot of people actually freeze castor oil capsules, take them in large quantities at one time. It'll actually bypass the stomach frozen, get into the intestinal tract, release, and remove all the parasites from the intestines. So that's a way to do a parasite cleanse with castor oil. It works. It's almost 7, so I'm just going to finish this shelf, and then we'll take a break. Hemorrhoids. Okay, we're moving on from constipation to hemorrhoids. 2 products we recommend. It's worked every time. Hemorrhoids can be internal, they can be external. If they're external or internal, it doesn't matter. But this salve right here, this is called healing salve. This is simply olive oil, comfrey root, and plantain leaf. Plantain grows like a weed in everybody's garden. You put this on the hemorrhoid, it'll heal it. If the hemorrhoid's internal, but it's kind of close to the surface, I will have people put a glob of this, insert it at night before they go to bed. And it'll help heal the internal hemorrhoid. Hemorrhoids are a circulation issue. It's a blood pooling issue. Just like leg veins, varicose veins, the blood's pooling and it's not recycling back through. Poor circulation. This is called Varicalm. V-A-R-I, like varicose. So Varicalm is a formula that increases circulation in the blood. Witch hazel, which is an astringent, it tightens, so that's going to help hemorrhoids by tightening the vessels. White oak bark and butcher's broom and stone root, ginger, cayenne. Those are all fantastic herbs for promoting circulation in the body. White oak bark, butcher's broom, stone root, ginger, cayenne. The way I recommend this, that I don't know if I've ever seen it not work. Have them buy 2 bottles. The first bottle, they take 10 a day. 5 in the morning, 5 at night. That's kind of the heavy dose. Then after they finish the first bottle, They take 4 a day. This will last a month, 2 in the morning, 2 at night. It'll increase circulation so much in the bloodstream that the blood will stop pooling down there and they'll stop developing the hemorrhoids. So external use, internal use, it works. Some people might want something to help their colon that's just a capsule. We got a couple of those. On the Move Fiber. This is kind of a fiber blend of herbs that people can take just to help with fiber. We probably won't get to fiber quite yet, but this is just a basic formula. It's called Colon Plus. I've seen this work for a lot of people. It's got apple pectin, peppermint, flax seeds, anise seed. It's got aloe vera. It's got some probiotics, and it has prunes in it. So a lot of things you've heard of that are good for digestion, you can find all in one formula. Prunes, aloe vera is the bitter, right? Lactobacillus, the probiotic. Bromelain, the digestive enzyme. Flaxseed, which is a fiber. Apple pectin, which is a good fiber. So this is a nice blend that's got a little bit of everything in it. It's called Colon Plus. And then we'll end with bitters. We kind of talked about bitters a little bit up here with the hydrochloric acid, but we have Swedish bitters. Swedish bitters are good for people who have constipation because it also has in it aloe, but it's got the senna in it. So this will help stimulate bowel movements. So in addition to the bitters stimulating the flow of digestive juices, the senna will actually help move the bowels. And then this is a digestive bitter spray. I really like this because if you spray it right onto your tongue, as I mentioned earlier, that bitter taste will stimulate the vagus nerve to start secreting digestive juices. So this is a digestive bitter spray that has gentian root. Again, I think every bitters formula has gentian. I hope I'm saying that right. I honestly don't know for sure, but it's Gentian. I think it's gentian. Fenugreek, Oregon grapefruit, yarrow, orange peel, and hops. That's what's in this bitters formula. And then this is another liquid bitters formula by Flora, the company out of Germany. They have great products. Let's see what they put in there. They put in artichoke, dandelion, gentian root, imagine that, turmeric, yarrow, ginger, chamomile, bitter fennel, bitter orange peel, blessed thistle, cardamom, and bog bean leaf. I've never in my life heard of bog bean leaf until this second, so that's fun. So any questions on, gas, bloating, reflux, heartburn, constipation, hemorrhoids? That's kind of what we covered here. Were there any questions related to those topics? I'm sorry?
What is the cause of the poor circulation for hemorrhoids?
What is the cause of poor circulation?
What would be a reason, we're going to give them the Vericom, but, what's happening behind the scenes? What's creating the poor circulation a lot of times?
So, that's could be a lot of reasons. Could be a pretty long conversation, but she asked what causes the poor circulation. My general basic understanding would just be thick, heavy blood. A thick, heavy diet. You're eating more food than your body can process. You have congestion in your bloodstream because your body just can't handle everything you're putting into it. So when the blood gets thick, it gets congested, it starts to slow down. It's like a highway, it's the river of life. So if it starts to slow down, blood starts to pool, that's going to become an issue. Also, if people have poor nutrition, the veins and arteries are made of what? They're made of minerals, the collagen matrix, so collagen, vitamin C. So if people are deficient in vitamin C or nutrients or minerals, the blood vessels can get weak, and as the blood vessels get weak and they're get flaccid and kind of weak, same thing. They can stop, they can get damaged and then they don't repair, and then again blood starts to pool in that area where those vessels are weak.
I guess I've just heard a lot of pregnant women talk about it, but it's just interesting because it's like you'll meet 5 out of 10 women that have it, and it's like why do 5 women who are pregnant have hemorrhoids and the other 5
And it's the
don't?
only time.
Right. And it's the only
Yeah,
time.
because a lot of women get hemorrhoids.
Well,
Pregnant women, yeah. I don't know 100% for sure. I know, I think it's pretty clear to say that when you're pregnant, you got a lot of organs and things being pushed on, which can affect blood flow. If there's organs and veins, arteries, as the baby grows, being pushed on, and that's going to push on veins and arteries and cut off circulation and cut off blood flow, I mean, that makes sense.
Right, but I'm just saying it's interesting that not all pregnant women have that issue.
It's true. We actually have in the pregnancy section a hemorrhoid cream for pregnant
I
women.
was going to ask, do we have a hemorrhoid option for pregnant women? Because I would wonder that they might come in asking for that.
Yeah.
We don't know if those herbs are all.
Yeah, if a woman was pregnant, I probably wouldn't, although these herbs are probably fine, I wouldn't, you got to be cautious with pregnancy. So I would, in the pregnancy section, there's a hemorrhoid cream specifically for pregnancy. Wish Garden. Yep. Okay, we'll cut it short there. I know Natania's got to go. We can cut that off.